Aha! I'm glad you're here to check up on me. Yeah, I know. It's been well over a week since my inaugural weigh-in video, but time has just galloped apace on me as per usual. Today is Sunday and it's actually the end of week 2 of my 40-week fat busting journey. And yes, I do have my end of week 1 scale reading to share with you. Plus just a catch up on how I got on, courtesy of my new Do It For You fitness planner. Yeah, bit cheesy. Do it for you. But actually, do you know, it's really rather nice, this wee journal. Although I have to admit, I didn't get off to a flying start with it because I actually forgot I had it and I didn't start it until halfway through week 1. But essentially, let me tell you about it. You've got 3 double page spreads to fill in every week. And the first double page spread is a meal and workout plan. My thoughts on that?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So I've decided to use it as a log of what I've eaten and what exercise I've done, or not, as the case may be. Then there's a spread which has, well, it's a bit of both really. It's a bit, there's a page, the left-hand page for looking back on the week before, and the right-hand page is for, looking ahead to the next week. And it's quite good. You reflect on what went well the previous week and what could have been better, and then you give yourself a mark out of 10 for, sleep, mood, mental health, physical health, la da da. And then the right hand page is what habits you're going to do for the following week, plus the crucial weekly weigh-in box. That's the main one. And then the third spread is just like a daily checklist. Oh, you get a little, what should we say it? A positivity quote at the top of each week. And then it's a tick box thing. Did you stick to your nutrition plan? Did you stick to your exercise plan? Yes or no? Colour in how many glasses of water you've drunk. I mean, it goes all the way up to 8. I couldn't drink 8 glasses of water a day. I don't know about, I would pee the bed if I drank that much water. I'm not lying. And then you put your sleep in, how many hours you had. And underneath, a little box that says, I was kind to myself today by ... That's a bit twee. But actually, I think it's quite good that it's there, because if there's one thing we excel at when we're overweight, it's really mean self-chat. Oh, I shouldn't have had that bread. Well, what did you eat that for, you complete lard ass? That sort of thing. So it's quite good, this wee journal. And every 4 weeks, at the end of 4 weeks, at the end of each month, you get a chart, a nice wee chart, a check-in, and you write all your measurements in. That reminds me, I have not filled in my starting measurements. Wait there. I'll be right back. job done. Now, let me tell you how I got on in week 1. Well, one of my goals was to get 8 hours sleep. 8 hours sleep every night. And I think that happened about once. But on the positive side, I did have 2 pretty big wins in my first week. The first one, I had to go to IKEA for a few bits and bobs that I needed. And you know what that means. Seductive snacks strategically placed all the way throughout the store. It's like a video game in there. Every other corner you turn, they're waiting to get you. With shelves laden with Scandi snackables and tempting tins of ginger biscuits. Oh, but you know, they're so small and thin, I'm saying to myself in my head. What possible harm could it do to buy a tin and just eat one every now and then? Except I know that I can't just eat one every now and then. But this time, ginger thins successfully deflected. But just when I thought I was safe, I was bombarded by bags of Gifflers. Gifflers. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce that. Back in a mo.
Gifflar.
I do love a Gifflar. But one Gifflar is always followed by another Gifflar and another Gifflar until the bag is empty. This time I was like, get thee behind me, Satan. And so I managed to escape IKEA without any sabotaging edibles in my bag. But that's not all. I had another win in week 1. Could have been a very dangerous situation. I went out for a lady lunch with a friend and we had reasonably healthy Turkish food. And then the waitress was like, oh, would you like to see the dessert menu? And I was like, no thanks, I'm full up.
Oh, yeah.
Result. So yeah, that was good in week 1. And as it happens, over lunch, my friend and I were talking about this guy, Professor Tim Spector. And in case you haven't heard of him, he is the gut microbiome guy here in the UK. And he runs a company with a few other people called Zoe. And my friend was telling me that she had recently finished their year-long gut health programme. And she was saying that she'd got some good recipes from the Zoe app. And, well, I ain't got the money to be doing that year-long Zoe thing. But it got me thinking, I'd quite like to get some new recipes because I'm a bit bored with my usual things that I cook. And so I was wondering if they had a recipe book out. And lo and behold, bum, 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 Tim Spector's Food for Life cookbook. And I was just reading something I didn't actually know about him. He actually had a mini stroke when he was in his 50s. And that is when he started looking into trying to find info about food and nutrition to try and get his health back on track, you know, and get his blood pressure down, And he discovered when he started looking into this that the advice he was reading on, you know, official government websites about, you know, food and nutrition was an absolute load of bobbins. And he got a bit of a shock actually because he learned that his medical school training wasn't up to scratch because he hadn't been taught a damn thing about proper nutrition. Anyway, where am I going with this? Oh yeah, he had been at some genetics conference or other in which they were talking about the potential role that the gut microbiome plays in your health. And so he ended up going to the States to work with a microbiome research group at Cornell University. And I first came across him a few years before the pandemic when I read a bit of research talking about the studies that they were doing with identical twins. And they'd found out that even although twins are, genetically exactly the same, that they could have completely different gut microbiomes. So the article that I was reading was where they had one twin who was slimmer than the other. And they discovered when they tested their gut microbiomes that the slim twin had a couple of microbes that the heavier sibling didn't have. Dun, dun, dun. So what they did was they put the slim twins' microbes into mice, and then they overfed the mice with junk food and whatever. I don't know. They tried to fatten up these mice. But these mice didn't get fat. Now, when I read that, my eyes practically popped out my head. I was like, whoa, why would one twin's microbiome be different from the other one? And of course, they were explaining that, one twin maybe had a different diet and or did have a different diet, and also they discovered that they'd had an illness or whatever that they needed antibiotics for that the other twin hadn't had, and that the antibiotics just completely made their microbiomes completely different. And ever since I read that, I have been boring everyone I know with this microbiome stuff. So now you've been bored with it as well. Where am I going with this? Oh yeah, well, a big part of my plan is that I'm going to use most. I mean, it was already in my head before I even looked at this book that I'm going to end up using most, if not all, of Professor Spector's protocols, which are as follows, if I can remember them all. There are 6 of them. And numero uno is try to eat 30 different plant species a week. I read that and I thought, oh, here we go again. Get your 5 a day, drink your 8 glasses of water, eat 30 plant species a week. I thought, don't even think of it like that. He says it's easy. And it is, because halfway through week 1, I had already eaten 20 different kinds of vegetables. Because it's not just about fruit and veg. Essentially, if nature grew it, it's cool. So it includes fruit, veg, herbs, spices, beans, nuts, pulses, seeds, all of that. So flipping heck, that's about 30 just within the space of 5 mins. So that's number 1. The second one is eat the rainbow. In other words, mix it up on your fruit and veg. Don't just eat greens. Eat all the colours, red, your oranges, your yellows and all of that. It's all to do with polyphenols, which let's not go into that. Third thing, he wants you to rethink your protein. Essentially, he wants everyone to stop being meat eaters and go veggie for the good of the planet. Fair play in that. And so he wants you to swap out your meat for more beans and lentils. I'm cool with that because I have got a shed load of beans and lentils that need eating up. But am I going to give up meat? Not so sure about that. What's the next thing? Oh yes, eat fermented foods. And I thought, oh yeah, great, because I already make my own sauerkraut and I make my own kombucha. So, but there are other things that you can eat, like kefir and I can't remember, but eat fermented foods. So check, pleased about that. Number, where are we on? 5 was time restricted eating, aka intermittent fasting. And when I read that, I thought, great, because I'm already doing that as well, and that was part of my game plan for my whole 40-week thing. And I find that my body really, really doesn't need breakfast. I've been having 2 meals a day with a wee snackette in between, which has been a few Brazil nuts and some dates. Keep you regular. Uh, but all of that's to say, I mean, sometimes I don't even feel hungry until like mid-afternoon. And then after I've eaten just one sort of main meal, I will aim to have stopped eating by 8 p.m. And that has been really working for me. And contrary to what you might think, I'm finding it really easy. It's definitely something that's worth a go. And his final thing was, oh, I'm so happy about this. Think quality, not calories. Woohoo! Thank God. No calorie counting. Oh, what a bollock all of that diet industry nonsense has been all of these years. So basically, Tim is saying, just all you have to do is ditch the ultra processed foods, just eat real foods, and your body will go back into an equilibrium and it'll tell you when you're full. And you won't crave any crap because all those ultra processed foods won't be overriding your system. And I can honestly say that from what I've been experiencing, that is true, true, true. Having said that, the other thing that Tim says is, you know, even if you're eating healthy most of the time, you can, if someone offers you an industrial biscuit, you can eat one from time to time. You know, it's not, you know, you're not a food nun, like I said in a previous video. I did laugh though when I read it. He said you can have an industrial biscuit, and my mind was like, an industrial biscuit, and my brain was conjuring up like bourbon biscuits that were made with like old engine oil inside and floor sweepings. But that did make me laugh, and also just visualizing that really helps me not to buy industrial biscuits. So there we go. What else was he saying? Yes, he was talking about the food industry in his book intro, and he was saying that they say that they are researching ways to make their ultra processed foods healthier. Yeah. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. And like he says, the only thing that they're interested in is profit, which means that they'll do absolutely everything in their power to get you and me to eat as much of their crap as possible. And, you know, one of the things they do for that to happen is pay very handsome salaries to lobbyists who go and, you know, bend politicians to their greedy will. In other words, we're going to be a long time dead if we're waiting for the government to protect our health and well-being. So we need to get on with it ourselves. Bah! I'll tell you. See, whenever I learn about companies that are bereft of any kind of moral compass, it really brings out my rebellious nature. And I'm thinking of this weight loss mission as my rebellion against these manipulative manufacturers of pseudo foods getting rich off my misery. Do you know what I mean? So, anyway, I have rambled enough. I think it's probably high time I told you what I weighed when I stood on the scale at the end of week 1. So, without further ado, drum roll please, 77.6 kilos. That's 171 pounds for you folks in the US, or 12 stone 3. Now, if you watched my last video, you'll know that I started at 12 stone 7, which means I dropped 4 pounds in the first week. I have to say, that really was rather gratifying. So, again, if you watched my last video, you'll know that I'm using potatoes as a frame of reference. And I had worked out that 1 pound is about 3 medium-sized potatoes. So let's head on over to
the Spodometer.
So I've shifted 4 pounds, which means that is 12 spuds gone in a week. Oh yeah, but most of that was probably water weight, so I'm not expecting to be getting that kind of result every week. But I have to say, it has been a really uplifting and positive result, and it's given me a really good kickstart, mentally. So that's it for this update. I would love you to keep on being my accountability buddy on my journey. So if you've not subscribed to my channel already, please do ring my bell down below so that you'll get notified when I upload my next weigh-in report. Until then, I'm going to keep on plugging away using my weapons of fat destruction, which is Tim's recipes and my Do It For You fitness planner. And of course, let's not forget my rebellious streak.
I love it when a plan comes together.
So do I.